We had everything in paper.
Which meant pieces of paper went missing, there was biosolids on it, there was sewage on it, there was water on it.
There was just paper left, right and centre, multiple people entering data.
And there was information that wasn't completed because people didn't see the value in it. We need a system that took us to a paperless world.
Innovation and local government are two words you don't hear in the same sentence very often. But that's what we found when we met Narelle and Sean from Bundaberg Regional Council's Water Services team. 12 months ago, they embarked on a project to upgrade their operations from paper to entirely digital, to improve the community's water assets management and collect accurate data about what was happening in the field, protecting the precious resource and the fragile environment of the Bundaberg region for the long term. They had already implemented an enterprise resource planning solution from a major vendor and 2 asset management solutions, so they knew what they didn't want. Instead of working with an off-the-shelf solution, they decided to leverage rapid software development using the Australian low-code platform Formbird to operationalise their business. Water Services' unique approach, including making use of the lean project management methodology and a change management program, meant the Bundaberg community were the big winners of the project.
I am Narelle D'Amico and I'm the branch manager of Water Services, so I sit within the infrastructure department. I am responsible for provision of water, wastewater for the Bundaberg region, which encompasses rural areas as well as the area of Bundaberg.
I'm Sean Askew, mechanical engineer by trade. I'm now with Water Services here in Bundaberg and heavily involved in planning and process and asset management.
We have the Burnett River catchment that flows into the coastal strip, which encompasses Monrepo, which is a turtle hatchery, high ecological value area. Which requires us to be considerate of both what we're taking from the environment but also what we're returning back to the environment.
So Bundaberg is a regional community, and being regional there's a whole bunch of challenges. Transport, specialists, skills, and being in that environment really drives innovation in the area, and council's looking to support that.
One of the unique things about the water business is that we have a variety of different assets that are buried or they're above ground, which is very different to the rest of the council.
Water Services were stuck with a mix of technologies. What they didn't have was end-to-end operational asset management.
Putting in front of my IT manager a pile of paper that we dealt with every week.
We gave someone a sheet of paper which told them what to do. They took it, which had the details of the water leak on. They went out into the field, fixed the problem, completed the worksheet, came back, gave the worksheet to admin, and someone had to input it in the system.
We had no idea what was happening in the field unless we called the person, which meant you're interrupting them mid-job, or until the conclusion of the paperwork coming back, which could be days later. So from a customer's perspective, we were never able to keep them updated with what was happening in the field until much post the event, and often they knew what had happened before we did.
So in the good scenario, the paper form came back, filled in completely wonderful, everything was there what we needed. We'd then give it to an admin staff who would type the information in another system, and then it would get filed and the paper would all get stored in a box, and the box would get put in a room. If you ask someone what was the workflow or how did a process work, you'd get different answers from everyone. That was the starting point, which we really had to navigate through before we got into asset management and capturing accurate data. If we had to ask ourselves some questions like, where is this job? Who did it? What happened? Was there any safety incidents with it? Those questions are extremely difficult to find out, because we'd go back, we'd have to run through all the paper, we would have to ask different people on who did it, which asset did you work on? You might have originally gone out just to fix a hydrant, but now you worked on a water main as well. So the teams would often just package it up together. So it was a real challenge to give us the ability to manage our assets on an operational level and not on a financial level.
Water Services had no visibility of the assets or the works being carried out. The answer was to bring all the assets and works into a single system.
So the problem we had to solve was we need to change everything in paper and get it digitized, which on the surface sounds like quite an easy thing to do, but it's really difficult once you get into the complexities of how the business operates.
Some of the challenges of the project was the expectations of how this project was delivered because we did it differently.
Our branch manager, she was really good in navigating a path to get this project across the line.
Using our own resources and having us lead it with direct input from the field operators, people were not accustomed to that.
Opportunities are often masked as challenges. So when we have challenges, we see, okay, what resources do we have? And the people and skills we have in Bundaberg really come up with some amazing opportunities and innovations.
Acknowledging that their input was actually valued and was needed to make the project successful was one of the first hurdles we had to get through. We took our team through a change leadership program.
Because the first thing you're going to see when introducing change is resistance. And how do you lead your team to overcome that resistance?
Change leadership is about leaders recognising individuals in a project rather than whole project teams or whole groups of staff. It's about individuals and acknowledging that every individual reacts to change differently.
So how do we do this change successfully, engage the field staff, ensure there's business value in a manner that supports the business as we're growing as well and providing services?
All leadership from a senior operator up to myself were on that change leadership program. That meant that every leader understood the responsibility they had to engage with their team. So it wasn't just the project, and that led a real turnaround of individuals understanding what role they had and how they could engage with their leader to provide input into the project rather than just waiting on the project to deliver them a product.
We want to digitize our field staff, and we want to move from a more reactive space into a planned space. We chose to do it ourselves to give us the benefit of being able to guide our own path. We engaged consultants and experts to give us some advice along the way, but we were able to provide a solution quickly with a small team. Bundaberg Regional Council has been really good with innovation and supported us on going this journey. When we took on software development, there's a rumor or a stigma with software that these things blow out, no one knows what's going on. There were off-the-shelf software solutions which would do it for you, but those were already pre-configured and expected a level of maturity of which we weren't at. Now those products were excellent, but for us we weren't ready for it. So we had to partner with someone who is willing to grow and to go through this journey with us. The business trusted us, and we used the lean agile approach to mitigate that risk of cost blowouts, to make sure we developed a product that is usable after 6 weeks, and had a look at the two approaches, waterfall and agile. There was just too much risk in waterfall to actually proceed if we're measuring against business value. Waterfall is a real segmented, logical approach to project delivery. So we start with defining our requirements. From those requirements, we do a design. From the design, we implement it. And then we, in a software space, deploy the solution, or in infrastructure, we commission it and start to use it. And then the maintenance runs thereafter. The challenges with that is once we get to implementation and deployment, we find out that there's more value that can be added here, or a process needs to be refined. And where we want to be in 3 months' time might be completely different where we want to be in 2 years' time. And what has to happen is we've got to take those values and learnings and stick them back in the system and redesign it and reconfigure what we've already done. So it results in a lot of rework. The waterfall process also takes long. So we'll only see benefits in about 1.5 years. The biggest risk to me was we give them a product and no one uses it, it doesn't work. And what happens in that in-between space is that we don't have any product or anything we can use. The risk is we have all this work in progress and all this money that we're paying, but we don't see any value out of it or can test anything against it. So we carry risk on that front. And as the project manager, on infrastructure, you can physically see things on the ground, so you can validate it. Where on the IT space, it's a lot more difficult to do that. And I just didn't feel comfortable accepting that risk to provide this outcome for the business if I wasn't able to see it in iterations or sprints.
Lean is a general term for a range of project management methods that have been around since the 1970s. In essence, it is a cycle of continuous improvement that engages every team member in identifying opportunities in the process workflow, plan how the current process can be improved, execute the plan, and review the results. The principal difference between Lean and Waterfall is that Lean aims to achieve small, incremental improvements in a short period of time. Each cycle is called a sprint, and a sprint could be as short as 3 weeks.
I suppose I always knew about Lean, but in terms of Lean and software, I only discovered that when I did some Googling and said that this waterfall approach is not quite right. What else is out there? We started by welcoming the vendor on board, and one of the things which is critical in Lean is communication. So I roped the vendor in to do some training as well with the project team, and we trained them on the methodology to clearly establish what it is going to look like and how we want to deliver it to provide the best outcome for council and also for the vendor itself. So we started doing the training with the team, and 3 weeks after that we kicked off our first sprint. And the first sprint really is just 3 weeks where we say this is what we're going to do, and we do it. We have a few planning sessions to decide what needs to happen first, and at the end of those 3 weeks we have a product. We had, here's some software, go out, use it, give it a try. And that process repeats itself, and we gradually build a product that's better not only for the business but also for the people who use it. Because after 3 weeks we have the opportunity to have a look at, do we still need to do all these things that we've said, or do we need to add some new things that we've learned along the way? So we provide this product after 3 weeks for someone to use, and they say, I'm struggling to find out where to go on my jobs. Okay, well, let's give you address and the facility that you're going to. So after the next 3 weeks, the user now sees that appear on his tablet, and he now knows exactly where to go. He feels valued because someone's listened and done something to the input that he's given, and the product's got better. So that happens not only from a people point of view, but also from a business. So one of the drivers we had was, we have water interruptions that happen quite often. So we naturally started and put a water interruption, call it an action in, something that someone does and gathers some information. And a couple of sprints later we said, we would really like a report to focus on one specific detail. Is it planned or unplanned, and how long were they notified? So with a simple tweak, which probably took half an hour to an hour, we were able to give everyone this report that had never been done before. And it was only because we were able to deploy that solution that someone could see it and say, oh, what about this recommendation? This would really provide value. And they could start to ask the right questions and give us the right recommendations to improve the product.
A moment on the project where I felt things were going really well and I was able to see the success that we were going to have was when it first went live within the reticulation team. It wasn't perfect, it needed some improvements, and we knew we were a long way off, but just seeing our team engaged, providing positive and negative feedback about what that solution was the key indicator we were on the right path.
The business gave us the opportunity. We are supported from IT and management, and they trusted us, and we now have a solution that's working for the field staff.
The moment when I realised the project was going to be a success was when the phone stopped ringing in our main office building, because the work was being directly transferred from the contact centre, automated, through to our field operators.
The moment of relief that I felt was after 6 weeks, where we gave it to our field staff and they started using it, and everything happened.
Importantly, it's a solution that is integrated, connected in with existing systems that we have at council, so it automatically integrates with our finance system and our asset system.
And the fact that at 6 weeks I was able to say, our team has delivered this, please go use it. And when I arrived, no utes in the depot, people were out. Yes, there were some really minor niggles, but everyone was out, and it almost felt a bit like business as usual, which was just shocking. So at the start of the project, we wanted to find out, what did we do? We now have the ability to link things to assets, where previously, which asset did you work on? Now we knew we repaired water mains and replaced meters, and we knew all the activities, but how much of each do we do, and when do we do it, and where do we do it? So after a year, we're able to look back and say, wow, what has happened? What did we do? And we had some really interesting results. 40% of all the actions we do are going out to repair and replace water meters. It's a critical asset, but not recognized in the financial register because they're such low value. That's compared to all our other assets like water mains, valves, hydrants. That information wasn't available to us. Having this information has empowered us to put in a new renewals program to target the specific areas where these water meters are failing. We know exactly which areas they are, and we have details on why they're failing. So we could now look to improve that. Bundaberg Regional Council has great team leaders and people who really want to improve the community and work hard for their neighbours.
We think we've adopted a system that is able to be leveraged across the business.
To help Bundaberg Regional Council make better decisions on their assets and as well as the processes in the business to provide improvements to the community and better services.
Previous attempts of council was looking at the whole solution for council, so an enterprise asset management system. Obviously they're complex to deliver, and each branch within the business has a different system from a base level like water did, or a digital platform as other sections have, which means it's very difficult to get everyone in agreement on what's needed. This system is going to provide opportunities for the business because it is able to be adapted and tailored for different areas of the business and allow for work sharing and tracking of work sharing across business units within council that has not been possible.
Drive and commitment really empowered this change. Leading the teams, getting everybody on board, because a tool is only as good as the people who use it. And they've been brilliant in upskilling their teams, their friends, on how to use it and how to get good information back to help Bundaberg Regional Council and Water Services make better decisions on their assets and as well as the processes in the business to provide improvements to the community and better services.